I believe that automation has taken us away from a tribal community. Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of the Jeff Heilman Project. Welcome back, Jeff, from
Because
Las
I'm
Vegas.
a piece of work. Thanks.
I would ask you how your trip went, but some things are probably better left unasked and maybe unanswered. What they say is what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. How was your week?
It was fun. We actually had a chance to play golf at the Michelle Traillionares Foundation first annual celebrity golf event, hosted by the Wynn
Nice.
Hotel. The Wynn. Got to play the Wynn golf course for the first time, which was ridiculous. I don't know what the retail is on that one. I think it's $8. I paid my fourth of the four caddies tip was $100.
That's awesome.
And golf was like $800 or $900.
But it was
supposedly
covered in the part of the celebrity
It was covered by
tournament.
sponsors because it was a celebrity event. And so I just want to shout out to Michelle and Anthony Trail from Denver, Colorado, for the work that they're doing to try to help newly minted college athletes who are 18, 19, 20 years old and are sometimes, some of them making their first real money. Some of them make more than their parents. In the old days, when you were a kid, you'd go play for Nick Saban, and he'd make $7 or $8 million a year, and University of Alabama would make $300 million, and you would get a coupon for Jimmy John's that you could exchange for a free sandwich, and you get to flip a coin to see who got the bed and who got the fold-out couch. Today, with the amount of money that's available in college D1 athletics, the things have changed, and thank goodness it's starting to come back to where the players are actually able to receive remuneration for their participation in these hugely branded and televised events. And then that brings a whole new problem statement to the world, which is, what do we do with the money when you're not 22 with an agent making millions?
I thought it was really cool that you talked about how her reality to them is this, you could get injured. This might not last forever. You're still young. Like the time.
I mean, the chances are, if you look at the odds, you're not going to make it to the pros.
This could only last like 1 year, maybe, or 2 years.
Number one, you're not going to make it to the pros. Number two, your likelihood of playing 4 years is low.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, if you're making $50,000 or $100,000 or $200,000 a year on top of free school, free room, free board, and you've never even had a part-time job because your entire life has been about getting picked up by a D1 football program, what do you do with $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 a month of income coming in from your newly found, newly minted fame, and you're 18 years, 3 months old, living in a dorm with a bunch of other people, or living in a frat house at 20 with a bunch of other people who have more money than they know what to do with, on top of all the stuff being free, and you've got travel, and it's 1 to 80 ratio for coaches and supervision. I mean, that's a dangerous position for a young person to be in, and thus all of a sudden empowered by fame, national recognition, accolades at the highest possible level, access to all this free stuff, and then a whole bunch of money on top of it that you could blow. So Michelle Trail and Anthony have come alongside these young people and said they're going to teach financial literacy and self-discipline and financial planning at no cost, and support these young people in their journey.
And so this event was a fundraiser.
Congratulations,
Michelle,
congrats
for a
to Michelle
fundraiser.
for successfully raising enough money to do more than just cover your costs for, rent, getting 60 rooms at the Wynn for 2 nights and 40 rounds of golf, all on speculation that she could raise enough money to cover her costs. And thank goodness she is great at marketing, and she is great at a great cause. I was able to play golf with some celebrities who will remain nameless for this show.
Of course.
Because I wanted to be focused on paying accolades to Michelle. But you can go and look up the Michelle Trail Foundation, Traillionaires Foundation, and it's a worthy cause, and I would definitely encourage you to consider, if donations are not part of what you're doing, then pray for them to continue to get the large corporate sponsors who have been so generous in helping support a great event and great recognition for a great program.
Hey, it's Andrew here. Though I'm the editor of this podcast, I'm now the new editor for my church's podcast, Ask Adam, where my pastor, Adam Burnell, and co-host, Jessica Heilman, my mom, discuss religion, history, and theology through questions from the church. It would mean a lot if you'd give it a listen if you're interested. The link is in the description. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Well, today's episode is going to be, it actually coincides pretty well with what we're talking about as far as coming out of this event of taking the youth of America and being able to, mold them and help encourage them and be able to get them the tools necessary in order to be financially success. And the reason why I kind of say it's related is because we're going to be talking about another young person. However, this young woman was on the opposite, not in dire straits, just not necessarily given the opportunity for an opulent living. And so it's almost like looking at and asking those life questions.
This is an amazing. Today's show, you're going to get a journal entry from Jessica's great aunt.
As everyone knows who's been watching and listening, my grandparents recently passed away, and in their passing, we've had to put up the house for sale. The family's putting the house up for sale, and it was filled with 60 years of memories. Well, unbeknownst to me, there's been this trunk that my grandfather built for my grandmother in her bedroom. We all thought it just had like the blankets in it, but evidently under all of the blankets that were in the trunk was sentimental memorabilia, sentimental documents, drawings, and other things like fabrics and material from my grandma's mom. And because when my grandma's mom passed away, she inherited her mom's things, and a lot of them ended up in this trunk, including papers. These papers
that you did not know existed or had not seen
in
years?
Well, I haven't seen them in years. I didn't know. My aunt, my grandma's daughter, did know that they were in there. I haven't seen any of these. So I'm going through the trunk because I just told everybody, because we have to clear out the house, I said, just bring the whole trunk over to me and we'll go through it. I'll go through it little by little and see what's in there and see these documents. So as throughout the long nights and the grieving process and all this stuff, I'll sit by the trunk and little by little I'm pulling out papers. One of these papers is this notebook right here, and it turns out that it is a diary from my grandmother's mother's sister. So
your grandmother's aunt, which would be
grandma's
your great
aunt. It'd be my great grand aunt. Anyways, my many years removed from 1928.
You were born in 77.
I was born in 77. So this
woman was born in like 19.
This is Helen's diary.
13.
And she was 14 years old in 1928 when she started this diary. So she would have been
1914. So 24, 34, 44, 54, 64, 74. This woman was born 60 years before you were.
Yes. And so in her diary, I found it interesting. They are from, at the time she wrote this, she's from Idaho. Her family,
Is that even a state back then?
Her parents
basically
had
Yellowstone,
moved.
Take a right.
Her parents moved their family from Iowa to Idaho, leaving everything behind. And her father was a lawyer in Iowa, very well-known lawyer
is that
in
the
Iowa.
Picture? The graduating class was her dad?
Mm-hmm. Was
of the dad
Grandpa
of the
Beers, yeah. And so but she was not from Iowa. She was from Idaho once they had moved to Idaho.
Helen.
Helen. And so she heard stories of the way that they used to live as lawyers and having, lace and trim and a beautiful home and water, running hot water. When they moved via camp wagon from Iowa to Idaho, leaving everything behind, they lived a very simple and very modest life. They were not having conversations about, finance and investing at this point. It was more like very simple life.
Survival.
And so I thought it would be fun if I read an entry from my great aunt's.
1928.
from a very long time ago, from 1928, and then we could talk about what she talks about. So you might be interested in what life was like in 1928.
And keep in mind, this is in what's the name of the town? It's not Kalispell.
Kamei. Sorry.
Andrew will put a picture of the map
Idaho
on the screen, but it's basically
very
70
small.
miles from the nearest 1,000-person town, which, of course, in today's day and age is basically a high school graduating class. They were 70 miles from the nearest town of 1,000, which would have been Lewiston, Idaho. And looking that up on the map, and I don't even know if there's a road that goes there today. So we're talking a dirt stagecoach ride at 4 miles an hour to get to town, to get to Lewiston. Divided into 70 is like all day and a camp and then all the next day.
Certainly makes you grateful for McDonald's, not
yeah,
for
exactly.
a car.
So I digress.
Okay, so it starts out saying, this diary is started April 14th, 1928. I am 14 years old. So it says, I am 14. My birthday is May 3rd, when I will be 15. Saturday, 14th April 1928. Today has been full for me and others also. This morning, I got up at 8 o'clock. I ate my breakfast immediately and started cleaning up the house. I cleaned up Bernie's room and mine. That was her sister. She cleaned her room. And Papa's and Arthur's room, her father and her brother. After this, I came downstairs and washed the clothes of mine that were dirty. After this, I fooled around until Bernie went. She went to Lewiston today. This makes the first time she has been in any, even small city since she was a baby.
Small city.
I haven't been in a city since I was a baby either. As I said, I looked around, I fooled around until after she went, then I took a bath. It was the best bath and the best chance I've had this winter. It's fun taking a bath when you have plenty of water and that warm. It's a very nice sensation to soak yourself in a tub of warm water. I wish we had hot water in a hydrant and a nice big white bathtub in a shining white bathroom. Then ooh la la, oh boy, and I mean girl, how grand and glorious it would be to take a bath. One wouldn't have any reason to dread it then. But this washing myself off with a cloth is too much for me. Consequently, it is natural for me to need baths, but today I had plenty of nice warm water, and I just about filled a clothes tub half full with it. Then I rolled over and tried to get all portions of my body into it, though of course I couldn't all at the same time. After taking my bath, I wrote my book report just in pencil. I couldn't write it in ink because we have no ink at home, and I forgot to bring mine home from school last night. And that was her entry for that day. And part of the reason why I wanted to read that entry is I've been toying with the notion of starting a YouTube channel or something, some way of documenting, because there's so many documents in that trunk like this that I would love to be able to read it and then have have a way for my kids, a permanent record for them to be able to see, because these things, as good as this is holding up, as good as this paper is holding up after 100 years, I know it's not necessarily going to last another 100, but we'll try. And it's fascinating to see, like in this book, there's little drawings of, bobs and what the hairstyles look like.
The hairstyle down at the bottom
it says Sinner on it.
Sinner.
Is that wrong? So it's just really sweet. I mean, she's 14 years old, and
Prohibition ends, Helen. It's okay. Just wait a couple of years. You'll be back to drinking in the bars.
The funny thing, or the most relatable thing to me, was the desire for a white bathtub in a shining white bathroom. I just have to laugh. I just laugh about that all the time.
And desire those things today.
Like the fact that everybody wants a white kitchen and everybody wants a white bathroom, and it represents being clean. And I can imagine. I mean, she's of the time, and I've heard stories from my grandma and my great grandma about how they used to have to use a wash basin to give themselves baths, and like the dad would get to go in first, and then the mom, and then by the time the baby. That's where that expression, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because by the time the baby gets in the water, it's cold and there's not very much of it left,
and it's probably not very clean.
And no, it's not very clean. My aunt said that in China, they like at least take a towel and they do that first, and then they're kind of like pre-cleaning before they get in and actually clean.
Oh, yeah.
But the small, simple things that we take for granted, like having running hot water, being able to go to the Keurig and push the button
I get mad when
and
all
get my
three
coffee.
bathrooms in our house are locked up, and I've got to go, and it's like, box what outside's going to have to do.
And imagining a time when, we're talking oil lamps or candles.
Yeah, that if you knocked them over, the house burns down.
Not having ink because you left your ink at school, and so you have to write your book report in pencil, and fooling around. We've been reminiscing a lot lately, but we were talking about how my grandma used to tell me her mom used to get mad at her for reading, and she'd say, put that book
down and go outside.
And so what a strange,
playing video games.
What a really strange, wonderful, you brought up the point about how all of this automation is supposed to actually free us up so that we have more free time, and yet we're busier than ever. And so I guess what today's episode is really about is like, how do you train the coming up generation? How do you encourage the next set of eyeballs to not be so, programmed by the propaganda that they, got to be on social media, have those constant dopamine hits. And clearly, my Aunt Helen here, there's no dopamine hit. They don't have sugar.
She was excited to have a bath.
They don't drink coffee.
Didn't even to town.
We're about 1928. We're getting ready for the Great Depression. They got rid of all of their posterity when they went from being wealthy lawyer to going and moving across into a very Western, very rural town. And so, they would read the Bible probably, and they would play, and they would, mend things. But then the sun goes down and you're done. And you're done for the day. And that could be as early as 4 o'clock or
probably
as
the
late
biggest,
as
the highlight
9.
Of their life, I would imagine, would probably be meeting someone of the opposite sex and
getting married young, going to community events like church and things that would bring a community together, festivals, fairs, anything, fundraisers, sitting down, doing needlepoint together, or I can only imagine how important the tribe was to this
survival
era
in that time, in that area. Idaho gets it. You get cold here, you put on a sweater. It gets cold in Idaho in those areas in the wintertime. You can't survive on your own, not outside.
Well, we were talking about
snowed in for months.
Our oldest son, Jeffrey, he's engaged, and we had extended the offer that if they at any point wanted to come and stay with us to put money in the bank, and of course the natural concern is what happens. We just don't want to become the people that are going to be moochers and like live off of our parents. We don't want to be
put you to work.
Well, my point being, the conversation that we had together was about being tribal, and about looking at this and really reading this again about the tribe. Is I believe that automation has taken us away from a tribal community, and it has somewhat replaced through a false surrogacy of relationship that, oh, my phone's enough, or the TV show's enough. I mean, how many people do you know that are, just content getting home and getting in their lazy boy and watching TV every single night, when there was a time not too long ago, 100 years ago, when you get home from working in the field, and you would probably get together with your cousins and your neighbors and your aunts and your uncles and have dinner tonight. And, somebody would bring the potluck, somebody would bring the cake, somebody would bring the pie, somebody would bring the barbecue, and you would sit together, and that was your exciting event for the day, was the fact that you and your neighbors would have supper together, or you and your family would have supper together. And so...
Yeah, plus you're farming, so it's like you gotta milk the cows if you have cows. If you want milk, you gotta milk the cows. You gotta take care of the goats and the sheep and the livestock, and then you gotta take care of the farm. You gotta take care of your tools and your implements.
And what about, remember that story?
Not a lot of electricity in 1928.
I think your mom
it was there, but not in the woods.
Your mom gave us that book for the kids. It's like Pele's New Coat or something like that. It's a story about a little boy who needs a jacket, and so he takes his wool to the guy and then the wool ends up needing to go to the dyer, and then the dye. So if you were a dairy farmer, you had the milk, and then you would go to the butcher who had the meat, and then you would go to the guy that owned the orchard for your apples. And so you have this very thriving economy and community to where you weren't responsible for doing all of it. You all took part in contributing into this very thriving town of people who represented a certain thing that you would have needed. So you'd get your flour from the...
It's economic growth and prosperity by specialization. Mm-hmm. And today our family, our cash crop is software licensing and contracts. That's what we made our money on for the last 20 years, is software.
Hey everybody, this is Jessica. I'm so excited to offer to you this new service and this ability that you have to text in your questions, comments. Maybe you have some situations that you'd love for Jeff and Jessica to try to tackle along with you. You can text us now at 203-646-1472. Your phone carrier may have standard rates that apply, it being a text, but this is a free service from us to you, in which we would like to participate with you in an ongoing conversation about how we can help and what we can possibly do for you. Looking forward to hearing from you soon.
But the specialization is taken to the next level. Specialization and automation. I mean, we probably have more money come out of our checking account automated from people we never even see than people that we're actually doing barter or trade with, saying, I'll trade you a leg of lamb for a bushel of apples or something.
Yeah.
I remember listening. I remember how I felt a couple of days ago when you were reading that. I'm like, I just kind of feel sorry for somebody that they're excited for taking a bath because they haven't taken a bath in years, maybe. Like that kind of a bath with warm water versus washing yourself off with a cloth. Then you think about, like, they never saw all of this.
No, they don't know. They don't have something to compare it
to. They're not mad because they snapped the end off on their USB-C cable for their iPhone 15 Pro Max. Like, it's the world that we live in is beyond the imagination for somebody that lived just 100 years ago. And you think about people have been living for thousands of years. Just the last 100 years, the gap, and some would say, even in our lifetime, I mean, the personal computer was not even a thing for me until I was in high school. I mean, it existed, and there was a handful of people that built stuff out of catalogs, but I'm talking like the actual vision of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates saying we want a computer in every home. That was like next level Star Trek stuff in 1990. And I mean, I graduated from high school in 93. So it's like you and I went all the way from zero to graduating from high school before computers were even available to mere mortals. I remember my dad had a Macintosh and brought it home in the Mac pack. that was like this igloo cooler for computers. It was padding so that if you dropped it, it would be okay. And I remember that like once in a while he'd bring the computer home and we'd get a chance to play on it. It wasn't connected to anything. The screen was 5 inches, 25 square inches practically. But it was, the outside. It was apes, dum 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 dum, looking at the monolith for the first time, and that would have been 88, 89. Yeah, I was old enough at that point to remember what that was like, to be seeing your first non-internet connected black and white Macintosh computer screen. And I would sit and play Dark Castle on that thing until 3 a.m. on Fridays and Saturday nights because he wasn't using it.
Yeah.
So to go from that,
we brought home a Atari 400 in there, where
I know,
you like
Hush
it's
has
got the
Atari 400. That was before me.
You got to code it. You got to program it to play a game.
I mean, that thing's the aluminum on that thing's worth $200 at least.
Well, thinking about this. I mean, think about this. How many people? It's so unfortunate. Don't have anything to write about. Like, they can go their entire day and have no entries in a diary. Like, I played, I sat and I went to work and I went home and I ate. I would like to challenge anybody who's listening. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do
taking
it.
A bath.
No, I'm going to, for the next week between this episode and next episode, I'm going to, and Jeff, I'll invite you to do it too, but you don't have to. I'm going to write an entry, I'm going to do a diary entry each day between now and the next episode. Because I do things, and I could look back at my calendar, and that's kind of the default is, well, if I ever wanted to know what happened in my life, I'd just look back at my calendar and I'd see all my things and, did this, did that.
Calendar's digital now.
But I'm hoping and encouraging and asking that anybody watching this or listening to this would live a life that you have each day something to write about. That you could actually go to bed. Yeah. I've always said, go to bed and look in the mirror and be proud of what you see, but that you would actually be able to go to bed each night and just take a little notepad, a little pencil, and have something to write about for that day. Something that you
even if you just wrote
experienced, something that you did, just something of note. Because our mission here at the Jeff Heilman Project, with the focus on humanities, our mission is that you would live a life worth noting, that you would live a life that you would be able to have something tangible, that you would be able to live a life making a mark that cannot easily be erased, that you would be able to have each day, you would be able to live day by day, being able to say, I made an impact, I did something, I created something, and it was worth noting today. And so I want to make sure for myself, between now and our next episode, I'll sit down, maybe I can use my phone and notes on my phone, or keep a little notepad by my bed and just say, today. And then what does that say to us about how we're living our lives? Because I definitely don't want to read, I didn't do anything and I was,
Oh, we do so much
I know.
every day. We do.
Yeah, I think
you get
so.
5 or 6 miles on your Apple Watch, and sometimes you don't even go outside.
But I don't want I don't want my diary to just say cleaned.
Cleaned.
Because that to me is a cop out just to write cleaned. I want to be able to have I want to be able to say I cleaned because my mom was coming into town to help me with the kids because my grandfather's funeral is coming up this Saturday. I don't want to get so shortcutted. I feel like in that what we were talking about as far as becoming so automated so that we can have more free time, that ends up creating a habit of being shortcut, like living a life of shortcuts. I don't want to be so in my shorthand in my life that my diary has 3 sentences. Woke up.
It's really good.
Woke up, cleaned, went to bed. No, I don't want to be so habit formed that I'm writing in a script that only I can read because it's so shortcutted that in 100 years when my great niece is going through my diary, she's got nothing to read. I mean, the only thing worse than having a diary that I don't, that she had written a diary that I don't get to read is if she had never written a diary at all.
Yeah.
So are we living a life worth noting? Are we living a life worth having a diary about? Are we doing that? And so I'm going to challenge, you guys, let us know. Let us know in the comments. Let us know. Hit us up on DMs or whatever. Do you keep a diary? My mom has a journal. I know she's got journals and stack. Jeff, you have notes like from your meetings and stuff,
Yeah.
but I don't know that
I have
you
records.
have you ever actually like sat down and like diaried like this is what I did today.
I do a lot of that on little scraps and notes and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not curated.
Yeah.
Is the difference. Like if you look at Woody Allen writing down all his little scripts of paper and ideas for movies, end up getting amalgamated into stuff that he types out, scripts and things. And I haven't done it to that level, but I would say that I'm for the last years, I have worked on systems, how to keep track of stuff, how to keep track of tasks that come in and emails and projects.
Hopefully free you up so that you can
hopefully free me up. It hasn't been
mind.
successful yet, but I am trying. But this week and last couple of weeks, I've had some good breakthroughs in just the way, because the tough thing is to say, okay, I got to do this one little task, but how do I know that this task in the sea of tasks and projects that need to be done is the most important task that I could be doing? And so that's why I've had to work out algorithms to try to automate that, so I don't have to think so much. So, but those are my diaries. That is what I have been working on for the last 10 plus years.
I think it's kind of cool to think about if I'd never really thought about a diary being a thing that in 100 years my great niece might want to read. I think it's kind of cool to think in terms of in our writing that we would write something that could in 100 years be decipherable, be able to be read. Like why are we doing something? What is we opened up our computer and it made this bong sound and it was, like those types of things that are able to be noted and able to be lived through.
Well,
so.
we are real people here, folks,
Yep.
at the Jeff Heilman Project.
That's right.
Jeff and Jessica coming to you live from the studio in our garage in
And you'll notice the
downtown
table's
Willow Glen.
missing, but we have some new
bongo
props. I don't know what
drums.
can be seen on the camera, but thanks for tuning in. Thanks for enjoying with
We're
us.
happy to sit and chat and share a little bit of our life and our thoughts on things, and we are just as
let us know.
crazy
Let
as
us know if you
are.
diary, and I'll let you know this next
it in the
episode
comments below.
how it goes for me.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah, ring the bell.
Ring it. Smash
we'll-
that bell.
Smash that bell.
And,
ring that bell.
And just know that we do this every week, folks. Sometimes we ask ourselves why we do it every week, but we do it every week to be consistent so that we can produce something of value for all of you and for our children, for posterity. Have a great rest of your last week of February 2024, and we'll see you again next
And if you
week.
think that I should do more reading or have this channel, just let me know if you think that would be something that you think might be interesting.
Amen. Have a great one.
Have a great one.
Thanks. Bye.
God bless. Bye-bye.